Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Women's Wisdom. Women's Wisdom is brought to you by your host, me, Nicole Cartney, and through these series, you'll hear from some incredible women who are living their ultimate life. Today, I'm going to be speaking with a new beautiful soul sister of mine who's doing some incredible work. We're going to take you behind the scenes of her life, her story, and really uncover some awesome gems so that you can start to implement them into your life. Get ready, because I'm pretty sure we're going to have some juicy talk today. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the beautiful Liv Doktar. She is a visionary messenger of truth and a change maker who is helping women activate and embody divine feminine leadership to amplify not only their purpose, but their freedom and impact. She is a voice of love, freedom and choice, and is driven by a desire of helping more people step into their fully expressed life of freedom. Welcome, Linda. It is so good to have you here. We've just met and I am so excited about this conversation today.
Thank you, Nicole. This is amazing. I love your energy. I love this already. Let's go.
So cool. So I just want to let our listeners know that this is the first time that Linda and I have actually spoken. So I actually reached out to her maybe a week ago and invited her to come onto my summit, which is going to be launching next week. And now I have her on my podcast. And, you know, I want to share this with you is, yes, you have a nudge or an intuition feeling to do something. Just do it, because you have no idea what happens. And look, I have her right here on my podcast. It's so amazing.
And that's a huge part of what I do, the soul alignment and trusting soul in everything that we're doing in our life. So I love that you mentioned that.
So beautiful. So obviously I've been watching Linda afar and I've been seeing you're going on this erotic archetypes journey. Like, as a professional dancer, that was my old career. Now I've stepped into coaching. So I would love to hear your insights as to that process for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been delving into the world of Tantra for a couple of years now already. And I find that when we speak of self-love, and I'm very big on self-love and embodied leadership and full self-expression and really connecting and speaking our truth and being seen. And the journey into deeper realms of self is really an exciting and a confronting journey, because every time that we go deeper and deeper and deeper, we're going to discover different layers and different parts of ourselves that might have been so unconscious. And recently I've been delving even deeper into a journey called Dancing Eros, so deeper into the archetypes of woman, which has just been such a beautiful and profound journey. And what I actually decided to do is to openly share every single archetype and the journey that I've had. So I've openly shared that on social media as well. And I've been very, very self-aware through that journey of how does that actually show up in my life, and how does that weave into my relationships, into how I'm showing up, into how I actually do business even, because I believe that everything is intertwined. There's no separation in what we do. And when we can start to realize that, we can just weave the magic into everything that we're doing, so that we actually don't, even though, like, for using this as an example, the archetypes, I've grown in so many other areas. I've even through that journey embodied more of my truth, more of my self-expression, and just embodied more of femininity and more of feminine truth and leadership within myself. So it's such a beautiful journey of deeper realms of self.
So amazing. And so you mentioned around like divine feminine leadership. What does that mean to you?
It means to me, if I backtrack and look at what's actually been going on in the world for a couple of years, is that a lot of women have stepped into these empowerment roles. And there's nothing wrong with feminine empowerment. I believe in it. You know, I'm in that space myself. But what I've noticed is that a lot of women have been showing up from this space of masculine power, and you know, very closed-hearted and not in their softness. So they've actually taken on more masculine roles in their life and masculine leadership roles, which has of course created even more separation, but imbalance within our polarity. And a lot of women have then emasculated men in the process. So what I must stand for is bringing women back into their softness, into their divine feminine, because women are different. We're not meant to operate like men. We're built completely differently. And we can still be powerful women. We're actually more powerful women when we are embodied in our femininity. And when we can just step into and apply that into our business and life, that brings polarity back into balance. And there's an element here as well, even in business, like giving and receiving, feminine and masculine energy. And when we can find balance within that, even in our business, magic happens.
Yeah.
Because, for example, just a woman to follow a masculine strategy in business, we might find that it's kind of like, how would I describe that? Just pushing against a brick wall sometimes.
Right.
The woman is so flow. The woman is fluid. She's water. She's a water element. And how can we apply the feminine energy into business so that we can still be powerful women and create huge impact, but be in balance within that?
So cool. Oh, you're like taking me on the studio. I'm like feeling my body like go forward. I feel this vortex that you're creating.
I do tend to talk a lot, so
no, it's a perfect. Oh, I love it. I love it. And you're so right about that, because I've also seen it, how I think there's like this need to try and step into this woman's empowerment, but having to do it through masculine energy and not allowing yourself to be in the feminine, because we've been shunned down for so long that the flow is kind of like, what's the word? Like, we're just messy and there's no strategy to it, or there's no like order to us as the feminine energy. But when you bring both of them together and empower each other to step into that, it just, magic just happens. The universe is basically there supporting us.
All the time. And that's really where I believe the power is, when we integrate both energies and bring them back to balance. It's like the yin and yang, because even throughout my journey of being an entrepreneur and being a coach and serving others and building a business online, and, you know, this whole journey, I've tried, you know, doing business in a very feminine way, just in feminine energy, and feeling like I just don't have systems and structure. I have it's just total chaos, like you mentioned. But I've also tried business in a very, very structured way where I'm following only strategy, and that has felt really off as well. So it was only when I kind of integrated both the feminine and masculine, and learning to listen, learning to kind of navigate through the energy in my business, that's when change has really happened.
Yeah. So amazing. And what actually inspired you to get into this work? Because I know that for me, there was something that kind of dropped, like the penny dropped. I wasn't happy with where I was going with my dance career. Most of my listeners know that, you know, I used to be a professional dancer and I was in front of the mirror every single day. So I grew up with a lot of insecurities around myself and my body and just the way I looked. And that's why I went on the self-love journey. But what was it for you? What was the penny dropping? What was it that inspired you to do the work that you're doing now?
That's a great question. There's been a lot of layers and a lot of things that have happened in my journey. And I think the absolute pinnacle, the starting point, when I had a huge shift, and I call it an awakening, divine awakening. I believe we have many in life, but that was my first, like, things really shifted, was, it was about 7 years ago when I was, I was at rock bottom, let's call it, just simply put, rock bottom. And I was addicted to ice. I was in an abusive relationship. I had an eating disorder. I was severely depressed, suicidal, homeless for a couple of months, even in that time, completely financially broke. And when I thought things couldn't get any worse, my father passed away. So there was a lot that happened in a space of 12 months. It was like my life just went straight down as hard as it could. And I got so far down into my own darkness within myself that I felt like I couldn't help myself anymore. It was that moment of, I can't do this anymore. Either come and save me, somebody come and save me, or someone come and take me away, because you know, I'd lost everything within myself. Any kind of light that I could see, I'd lost it. And I call this state, I call it surrender. Like when you just let go, you let go of resistance, you let go of the struggle that you have within yourself. And I just basically, I didn't give up, I gave in. And and that's the moment of surrender to something greater than yourself. Things really started to shift from that point. And I believe that as humans keep learning the lesson of surrender over and over and over again.
And louder and louder and louder again.
And that's when things shift, even with manifestation and life creation. If we're attached to something, we're resisting something, it's going to get more difficult until we let go. We either forget about it. There's an element of surrender that happens. Surrender is not something we can see or force. It really is a dropped into just letting it all go and trusting. It's divine trust in the now that everything's going to be okay. So that was really my complete first moment of things started to shift, and I kind of experienced like a complete mind shift. It was like someone had pulled me up to heavens and just thrown me back down, and I felt like I was in a new life. And awakenings happen very differently for people, and mine was very, very big. It was very significant, very fast. And like I said, I felt like I was on a whole different path. So from that point, I then got into the personal development world and got on a journey of educating myself and learning more about myself, and then embarking on the self-love journey. And that's where it really started in terms of navigating through myself and learning what self-love really is. And it's a lifelong journey, never ends. It is a commitment. It's either we either choose self-love and choose that as a way of life, or we choose something else. And self-love goes way beyond having a bath or getting or massages. That's the surface stuff. So it really, the transformation started when I started to honor myself on deeper levels, and creating boundaries and creating changes in my path and in my journey. And then as I then very quickly started transforming my life, I really wanted to help others. And there's a lot of things that have been part of my past, and including body image, like you mentioned about your journey. And I really wanted to help others. So that's how it really started. And of course, the journey has evolved very much since then, in terms of who I'm serving and how I'm serving, and what my truth is. Our truth continues to evolve as well, which is a beautiful journey itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just, when you mentioned that as well around your body, I actually saw a post that you popped up maybe a few weeks ago. I can't remember the exact time, but you also did bikini body fitness. What's it called? I can't even remember the name of it. Bikini body challenge, basically. You dived into that as well. What was it like being in that environment?
Yeah, it was actually really interesting. And the reason I decided to do that is because I was moving through battles within my own body, and because I've been in the fitness industry basically my whole life, and even from a young child I was always involved in professional sports, gymnastics or diving. So I've always been a professional athlete, and then the journey kind of evolved into working at a gym, becoming a personal trainer, and just being very heavily involved in the fitness industry. And sometimes, actually quite often when there's a certain concept, and I was teaching group fitness even for 11 years. And I had this belief that if I wasn't in tip-top shape, I had this element of perfection, that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough to be in the industry, or it actually went even further than that. I wasn't good enough to be in a relationship or call in a man, or I wasn't good enough to even be alive. So I had a lot of interesting beliefs, limiting beliefs that I'd created in my journey through the pressure of the fitness industry. And then the reason I ended up competing was completely for the wrong reasons at that time. And I, of course, I didn't know it at that time, but now looking back on the former version of who I was, it's very interesting to look at, the decisions that we made. So for me, it was really just to prove myself first and foremost, that I was good enough. So I was searching for something really outside of myself to prove that I was good enough, and seeking for that validation. And it was a beautiful journey that I went through, and I wouldn't change it, because it taught me so much. And I believe that every single thing that we experience and go through, whether we perceive it as good or bad, it's always perfect for our journey at that
Right.
point in time, whether it's a relationship, whether it's any kind of trauma that we move through in our life. There's always such profound wisdom in that journey and that experience.
I totally agree. And yeah, just like when you're in that moment, it's like, oh, you think you're doing the right thing, right? You think this is the thing, and when you reflect back, it's not until after you've gone through that process you look back, you're like, oh, okay, that's why I needed to do that, or that's why that happened this way, or yeah, it's always divine timing, of course.
It is. And there was actually another element which I think maybe the listeners might relate to. So sometimes, actually quite often, when we're seeking that validation and worthiness outside of ourselves, and for me it was the stage appearance and winning bikini competitions, and you know, for other people it might be seeking a relationship, or just doing something to prove yourself or to prove another that you are good enough and you are worthy. But here's the thing, when we keep seeking validation and worth outside of ourselves, it never ends. So even after I had, you know, gone through the journey of competing and winning, I actually remember after my competitions, it was like, well, what now? What now? It was like this sense of cognitive dissonance, and my brain just couldn't comprehend of, well, I meant to feel worthy. I meant to feel good enough, and I meant to feel validated. And it was for a moment, right? It was for 5 minutes on stage or one day. And then I went through an experience and almost had like a kind of sunk into depression, because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, because I had seeking that validation outside of myself. And this can quite often happen in business as well.
Right.
And we're traveling through income goals, and I'm going to make 6 figures or multi 6 figures, or, you know, whatever that journey is. And when we get there, at our worth to that point or to that goal or the vision, and when we get there, there's a sense of, but what now? Who am I now? What am I meant to do now? And I went through that in a different way when I became location free. So it was all my coaching, it was my dream to live a location free lifestyle. I knew it was going to happen. It was the number one thing I wanted in life for my in terms of how I want to live a lifestyle. And when that finally happened, and I created that after years and years of working towards it, it was like, oh, who am I now? What am I meant to do now? It was that, once again, that same thing of, okay, I've achieved my big life dream and vision. What's next? And that's why, you know, all of these experiences have really reminded me that it's about the journey. It's never about the goal. It's never about getting somewhere, because we're missing life. The only thing that we have is this moment in the now, and this is where the magic happens. This is where surrender happens.
I'm so glad you brought that up, especially when it comes to business, because I know that there's a lot of my followers and listeners where they are so fixated on the goal and they completely miss, and this is also for myself in the past, you completely miss the journey of it, and you're just so focused on the end goal when there's not an end goal at all.
Yeah, and it's actually a really common thing. What's the thing that they've done some kind of research with people on their deathbed, and what's the thing that what people regret most? And one of them is actually to just slow down and enjoy the now more, and just slow down and enjoy life and smell the roses, spend more time with self and spend more time with loved ones, and do the things that we actually love doing in that journey. Because we might have this grand vision of impacting millions, and once we then eventually get there, nowhere to get to, that same sense of emptiness, and you know, that can really take over your life. And this is why a lot of celebrities go through the same. They get to the top, they work so hard to get somewhere, to become famous, and then a lot of them end up in depression, and because it's like, well, what now? I reached the top and I'm still not happy, and they thought that thing would make them happy and fulfilled, which is not the case.
So what is the thing that you have I guess there's so many different things that you probably do to help yourself be fulfilled, but what are some rituals that you have in place to actually have that fulfillment now, being in the present moment?
Yeah, I feel like that is really good question and a very multidimensional answer on my behalf as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is not one thing that I can say that has kind of been that breakthrough
The
moment.
thing.
The
Yeah.
little things that I've done in my whole journey. And I feel that a big part of that, of reaching a point of deep inner fulfillment, is working through the fear of judgment from others, and working through the full, like, and asking myself, if I was to fully honor myself and love myself on all levels, what would my life look like?
Mm.
And it's kind of like a question that you carry with you every single day, because things will show up daily. And I now learned, I'm now in a place where I'm constantly tuning in with my body. Does that feel good?
Mm.
If I'm, for example, this interview, you're reaching out to me, this felt great. I'm constantly leaning in, tuning in. How does that feel in my body? And I'm a recovering people pleaser from the past. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. People
Yeah.
that perfectionist syndrome. They're the two that a lot of people can really relate to. And I can certainly speak from that place, from my past. And I had to let go of the perfectionist syndrome. I had to let go of needing to be liked, or needing a need for validation, or just trying to please other people. And that's really what true self-love really is. It's actually self-honor. The deeper element there is self-honor. And it's about saying yes only when things are feeling good to say yes to. But if something that feels heavy, if even whether it's a friend wanting to catch up, or someone asking you to do something, it comes down to so many different things. And always tuning in, what's my truth in this moment? And the more that you say yes to yourself, the more fulfilled and empowered you're going to be from within.
Yeah.
That's really been kind of the nuts and the bolts in terms of the journey of coming back to self. And there's no apologizing about that. So when you say no to someone else, you know, how they react and respond is up to them. We can only be responsible for how we react and respond, how we carry ourselves. So every time you say no to somebody else, you say yes to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful thing to realize, that you actually say yes to yourself.
I love that you brought that up, and it just brings so much power when you do say the no as well, especially if you're someone who used to say yes to everything. Oh, I'm culprit of that. Just because I would feel bad for saying no, but in actual fact I was fucking it up anyway. You know, like I would let people down, and it was just became this huge mess. So
yeah, and that's a huge piece of what has actually brought me into the type of work that I do with my with the people that I serve. So I'm really focused on soul alignment, bringing people back into their own truth and themselves, and navigating through themselves. So I'm not here to pass on my beliefs to anybody. I want every human to come into their own truth, their own fulfillment within themselves, because we're all such different beings. And when we can embody true alignment with our own soul frequency, so much magic will unfold. It's the alignment piece, and it's an energetic piece. When we're in alignment, manifestation just comes to fruition, because you're just in a constant state of flow, and there's no resistance. When you're in alignment, there's no resistance.
Yeah. Love that. I'd love for you to share, obviously we're at the stage where I would love for you to share some of the things that you're working with clients around, and how people can actually start to work with you. Are you open for services? Tell us a little bit about that. What do you offer? What do you do? How do people work with you?
So I'm super passionate about really helping people amplify their leadership. And I work mainly with women. I do work with men as well. I have obviously working through a lot of trauma. So I work with some men within trauma, and of course women as well. But a lot of my clients right now are in the leadership space, in the entrepreneur space, coaches, healers, light workers, who know that they've been born for more, but they've kind of been holding themselves back, or there's resistance in life itself, whether it's their business or relationship. Everything's intertwined, right? So I help entrepreneurs, coaches, and light workers, healers come into truth within themselves, into full alignment, so that they can also embody the feminine and masculine piece that we spoke about at the start of this podcast. So when we're in full alignment, and when we work through the parts of fearing judgment, it's like we step into this full embodied leadership, embodied self-expression, where you are just you, and it's a permission piece of you just bringing out and birthing the work through you. Because quite often when we haven't worked through those pieces, we're holding ourselves back, and we're not creating the impact and the success that we actually want to create. So I amplify that. We work through the BS that's standing in the way, and I amplify the leadership and the self-expression and the truth and the message that the person has.
Beautiful, amazing. And do you do that by, I guess, like one-on-one work, or do you have some sort of program that you're launching at the moment? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I always work with one-on-one clients. It's a rare kind of thing. I don't take a lot of one-on-one clients on, but it's definitely an option. And I also work within the space of like group programs. So I have a couple of programs that are always running, and then I'm launching new ones. From time to time, also launching new ones. So I'm a bit of a multi-entrepreneur, actually.
I love that.
Of which, I have my coaching element and really helping entrepreneurs kind of expand within their own truth. And then I'm working with a couple of other different projects as well. I'm building another company behind the scenes. And
is that secret? Like, can you tell us about that, or is that secret, Belinda? We have to wait.
No, I'm happy to share.
Yay.
And the reason I want to bring this up as well is because I'm a very great example of someone who has their hands in multiple pots, because quite often when in the entrepreneur journey, we get told that we have to focus on one thing only. And
shit.
We're all different, right? And that's going to work for a lot of people, but then for some people, it's definitely not going to work. And if I was just focus on one thing, I would lose my mind.
I'd be so bored.
Most in my creative space when I have the variety, and it's about finding the balance and structure within that, so that you can navigate that. So I'm also partner and aligned with products and things that actually help us raise our vibration. So I work a lot with energy, and now I'm building a retail business because I've found a product that helps us stay high vibe in 5G environments, any kind of EMF, EMR compromised environments. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it helps us stay woke, tapped in, and turn on, basically.
Yay, who wants that? Wow, that's amazing. So obviously, is it still in production phase, or has it already been, can people purchase this now, or tell us about that?
Yeah, it's called Tesla's technology, and people can purchase it already through me. But what I'm building is the automation part of it and the website part of it. So it's a very, very, the company itself and the product itself has been kind of flying under the radar, because anytime that we speak of anything that elevates our consciousness, raises our vibration, things like that are always under the radar, the things that actually work. So it's a blessing that I've found. And
so cool.
So it's not mass production. It will never be a network marketing company or anything like that. So it's a very, very unique, sacred, like the pyramids in Egypt. So
yes, amazing. And so obviously, I've got your social media links and what the way that people can actually reach out to you, so they'll be able to just find them through your social media links.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of links on both my Instagram and my Facebook, and there's even a link tree link there.
Awesome.
Into all my offerings and other links and groups. So I have a couple of different groups going at the moment where people can just kind of familiarize themselves with the work I do, and even with the tech. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Wow, amazing. Oh, this is so good. I feel like we could continue talking for ages, especially when we've just met. But I really do appreciate you taking time out to jump on here. And I feel like, just with anything, we never know what can come from this and what would be the next step for us. But I'm super excited to have you in the summit as well next week, which is exciting. Is there anything else that you feel like is necessary to speak about right now before we close the series?
I could take this anywhere and everywhere.
I know. I'm like, oh, should I have asked that question? What have we not talked about?
It's going to open up so many more can of worms.
Let it out.
Normally when I do podcasts, people normally ask, is there anything else, or what's kind of the last message for the audience? So if I had to just pick one thing, is it staying true to your own soul? When you stay true to yourself and your soul, and you continue to back yourself, even when it makes no logical sense, you'll always win. And that's truth. And that doesn't mean that our journey is going to be perfect and never have challenges. Of course it will. We're in a human experience. But when you can learn to come into your own truth and learn to trust the inner nudges that you have, whether it's in a relationship, life in general, in your business, you'll always win. And we so easily get caught up in this space of, oh, but my logical mind wants to take me right, so I should walk right, when your intuition's like, no, but I want to go left. It is about backing that nudge, backing that inner feeling, because when we don't follow what we feel inside, life's going to teach us something. Yeah. And it's never going to make any logical sense. Logic and intuition are two completely separate parts of the world, right? So, my message is to just find the courage to back yourself in your truth and in your intuition and what you feel, even when it makes no logical sense.
Beautiful. Yeah. Doesn't make logical sense all the time, honestly. Some of the things that come through, you're just like, what? Really? I should do that? Okay. Or, oh my God, really? Do I have to do that? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually experience that almost on a daily basis when I have the insight and the downloads that come through. And sometimes I even look up and go, you want me to share that? And I have this funny game, I have a very lighthearted approach with the divine and my spirit team, and I've actually allowed it to be fun and play is something that I bring into my life and business. And I'm such a believer in that, because if we're not having fun, we're missing the point of it.
Totally. I have a sense that you'll be super fun to hang out with. So I really, universe, I please would like that at some point in my journey to have fun with Linda.
Let's have all the fun. I'm up for fun anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, I love that. So
we get
cool.
To do all the things, we get to be empowered leaders. We get to be successful in business. We get to be tapped in woo-woo and, in love with our crystals and work with energy. We get to be spiritual. We get to be wealthy. We get to be all the things. And there's no separation. And the truth really is coming back to self and being you, and just amplifying from that authentic, truthful space and building life from that place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen to that. So good. Well, guys, you honestly have been treated with this beautiful goddess. Thank you so much, Linda, for bringing all of that juiciness. Really excited. I'm so glad that we were able to have this chat and get to know each other on our first date.
Date, I love it.
Oh, goodness me. Well, thank you again so much for taking time out of your life and sharing some wisdom with these beautiful souls that have come to find more and understand more about themselves. And really, really grateful and honored to have you here.
Thank you so much, Nicole, and thank you for everyone who's watching and listening as well. Really, it's been an honor.
Beautiful. Thank you guys for watching, for tuning in. Please share this with anyone you feel like will benefit from this. I mean, who wouldn't? And please go ahead and subscribe. I will see you guys on the next episode. Ciao, ciao.